Because without pain, we wouldn't appreciate the experience and the playroom and the playground that us as the eternal spiritual being is here to experience. It is the pain that teaches us. It is the pain that gives us guidance. It is the pain that allows us to awaken and come back to our mindfulness, come back to our presence, come back to our deepest frequency of love. Welcome, beautiful beings, to season 2 of the Cosmic Love Antenna podcast with your host, Harrison Ma. This podcast sets the loving intention of creating the mystical space needed to pull back the layers restricting health, alignment, and love. Now let's walk you home to your cosmic spiritual heart space. Good evening, afternoon, morning, mystical, beautiful, magical beings. Just adding in an extra label there just in case. Welcome back to the show, and welcome back specifically to another Solo-sode with me, your host, Harrison, as we dive in to a topic together, a topic that I pick out from my heart that I know that you, the listener, as a part of this tribe or maybe new to my frequency, a topic that is going to support you on the journey back to your cosmic and spiritual heart space. Usually a very spiritual topic, and today is no different on that side of things. And I'll get to what the topic is here in a second. If you've read the title, you know, but let me do a quick little intro here for all of you that have just joined this tribe, just joined this community. It's a pleasure to have you. A reminder that if you have just joined or you are a regular listener, how you can support the show today is by sharing this broadcast out far and wide to a friend, a family member, or a lover that could use this information. You can also head over to Apple and Spotify, leave your feedback, leave your comments, leave your love. And that also helps the show rise up the ranks to reach more souls in need, because that really is my intention with these chats, is to reach more and more people. And I love to do it just because it's my passion, and I love to reach the hearts of those in need. And you can help me do that with your shares and with your feedback. I'd also recommend you listen to the end of this show today, because I'm going to give a lot of valuable tips. And usually how I do these conversations, they tend to ramp me up. So towards the end of the show is when the channel is open the widest. So on that topic, the chat today, the theme today is going to be on your muscle of mindfulness and how it can help you become free and set you free. Your awareness and your mindfulness are your superpower, just to put it very simply. But for a lot of people, it's hard, myself included, it's hard to activate this mindfulness. It's hard to be this observer, the awareness that is behind the negative thinking, the thoughts, the pain, the trauma, the challenge, and the illusion. So today I'm going to be giving you my 10 top tips, practices, tools, insights to help you flex your muscle of mindfulness. So stay tuned and soak all of them up. Before I get into my 10 tips here, I want to take a moment to read out a beautiful, beautiful review from the community. That is you listening. This review is from the beautiful Dr. MV, and Dr. MV says, "Pure light, love, and healing. I just finished recording a podcast with this magical young man. My whole body is vibrating, even my teeth." I felt such a transmission of love and the brilliance come through him on the screen. I'm feeling so grateful that his medicine exists and that he is doing the work to bring it to us. He's on fire. Keep up with him if you can. Well, thank you, my friend. And I have a sneaky suspicion who Dr. MV is, but I'm going to keep it a secret for all of you listening, because this powerful woman will be on the show very soon. So stay up to date with that. And I receive your love, my friend. Thank you for the kind words. All right. So let's get into the main crux of this chat today. Before I get to the first tip here, I want to quickly just describe and outline the importance of your muscle of mindfulness. A quote that I often share on the show is from the powerful manifesting episode that I did a few months ago, and from the powerful soul that is Greg Braden. And Greg Braden states that the act of observation is an act of creation onto itself. And what this means is that by purely bringing our loving awareness, or our muscle of mindfulness, as we're talking about today, to any state, consciousness state that we are currently in, a negative emotion, a limiting belief, a traumatic experience, re-traumatizing ourselves in the present, a painful moment. By bringing mindfulness and our awareness to it, we create a new reality. We create a space for us to make a choice. And this is why it's so important. This is why that if you can start to flex and strengthen your muscle of mindfulness, then this will help you across all of your challenges, your pain, your disconnection and separation in your life. So I cannot underline this enough. And as you take these tips, as we go deeper here, this is the motivation for you to do so. So tip number 1 to flex your muscle of mindfulness is starting to hone in and tune in to how you feel. Specifically, how does the emotion in the moment feel in your body? One of the reasons that we want to be mindful is so we can stop becoming identified by the emotions that are trapped, are created, are brought up in any given moment with our friends, family members, lovers, etc. So what we can learn to do is see these emotions as the point of contact to first become mindful. For example, when anger moves through you, how does it make your body feel? Do you feel dense? Do you feel heavy? When sadness takes hold, do you feel a tightness in your chest? Do you feel your throat restricting? All of these moments in time are points in which you can become mindful. Start to be the awareness. How you start to become aware is by reminding yourself that in that density, in that heaviness, that is not your truest, most authentic state. Right? Because let me ask you, what is your truest, most authentic state? Your love frequency, your spirit, your presence, your divinity. Does it feel like those things? Or does it feel open? Does it feel expansive? Does it feel light? Does it feel free? So 1, it's reminding yourself in the moment that this is not you. But 2, to become the awareness and become mindful to then look and feel the emotion itself, to let it move through, to hold space for that emotion. This in itself is how we start to flex our mindfulness muscle. It's the first thing to observe, because our emotions, as most of you listening have probably experienced, come up throughout our day. So we have plenty of opportunities. When we speak to our friends, speak to our parents, our family members, our co-workers, you get the idea. So each of these moments in time throughout our day become points of contact for our muscle of mindfulness to expand. Tip number 2, and this leads on perfectly from the feeling the emotions in the body. Tip number 2 is dropping specifically into each of the specific body sensations. So one of the ways that we can start to categorize and notice specific body sensations is our chakra system. Right? I mentioned a moment ago your throat feeling heavy. I mentioned your chest getting tight. Another one would be your stomach sinking. You might have pelvic pain, lower back pain. You're following the trend here. All of these pain sensations aren't just specific areas of the body. They're mostly all connected to your energetic centers. So one of the ways that our mindfulness starts to build is by becoming more aware of our chakra centers and their corresponding body areas. Because if we can get specific, we can become more sensitive, and we become more sensitive, we become attuned to our mindfulness and to what is us and what isn't, so we can make a change. So it's learning that your root is connected to your adrenals, for example, and your hips, and your that lower foundation, your sacral connected to your genital region, your lower back, your solar plexus connected to your stomach, your heart connected to that whole chest and upper shoulder back area. Just some examples. Another tip within this tip itself around dropping into specific body sensations is really starting to open your heart to the practice of yoga nidra. I'm going to most likely do an episode on this in the future. But for now, I'd encourage you to seek a practitioner, seek someone who uses this modality of yoga, because yoga nidra, I've found, is a powerful way to really become aware of each specific body area, right? We take a journey through the body in yoga nidra, usually before sleep, to bring our present awareness to the body itself, to become mindful of how the body is shifting and moving. So yoga nidra as a practice, as a yogic practice, can be a modality that specifically targets your muscle of mindfulness. If you speak to any yogic practitioner, for example, I teach a lot of yin. Yoga nidra isn't too heavily a part of that, but I have started incorporating it. So I'm not alone. So find your closest practitioner to speak to about this, and there's many YouTube videos that you can look into on YouTube to go deeper into the topic. Tip number 3, of flexing your muscle and mindfulness. And just before I continue this next one, I would encourage all of you, as you listen, use my voice today throughout these tips and tools and practices as a point of mindfulness in itself. Right? If you're doing things, if you're doing housework, you're driving the car, you're washing dishes while listening to me, whatever it is, use my voice as a point of contact to become mindful. If you get distracted by thoughts and concerns and worries and negative thinking, come back to my voice. Come back to the flow of the show. That in itself flexes this muscle. And this just came through to share it with you. Tip number 3, another anchor here, is using the breath. And I'm going to speak to a couple of components here, but I want to share a quick little practice with you that was given to me and is named and often referred to as the breath of life or the breath of love. What this looks like is taking a moment to close your eyes and becoming still, becoming quiet. And as you breathe in through your nose, imagine the love and the light and the divinity that's all around you coming in through your nose. And then as you breathe out, expanding that light around you. Going again, breathing in the love and the light and the divinity around you. And as you breathe out, expanding that frequency of light around you. So that practice, that 2-second breathwork practice, for me, just to give you my own personal experience with this, has been a game changer in regards to opening up not just my mindfulness muscle, but connecting me deeper into my divine source, my inner divinity and presence. And the reason it does that is because in many ways, when we breathe in, we not just drop into the moment, not just become the deeper self that we are connecting to what life is. Life in many ways is the breath. God breathes out, it creates all of us, and God breathes in to take in all the experiences. So when we, as the piece of God that we are, breathe out and in, or in and out, we are embodying divinity in many ways. So that breath can be a way that you can flex that mindfulness muscle. The breath also, and you can add this to that little practice that we did, the breath also creates space. It opens us up. If we are stuck in negative thinking, in a dense emotion, when we use the breath like we just did intentionally, and we actually imagine that love coming in through our nose and connecting to that area of the body that feels tight, that feels heavy, that feels in pain, it adds space. It adds space for that energy to move and flow. So use the breath in that way to create the space to light the way. Because when we light the way, we allow the emotion, which is energy and motion, to move. Then finally, when we use the breath like that, as I just alluded to, we are also connecting into our divine presence, the presence of God that's inside of us. And when we're looking to flex our muscle of mindfulness, in many ways, what is that awareness? What is that thing that's observing? When we are being mindful, what is minding? It is that presence. It is that source inside of us. So the breath is the gateway to that. So practice that. Practice that simple technique and you'll notice some shifts. Next up here, tip number 4 of your guidance here around flexing your muscle of mindfulness is using your heart and love, specifically using the affirmation, what would love do? If you've listened to this show to any amount of time, you've probably heard me speak and shared this affirmation. And this affirmation really drops you into the heart. And the heart is the space in which this mindfulness muscle is going to be flexed the most. When we use the affirmation of what would love do, it gives us a choice. It gives us a choice to not make the next choice from our mind. Most of us, myself included, are getting stuck in only feeling and mostly thinking that we can only make a choice from our mind, from our programming, from our wounds, from our pain, our trauma, our conditioning, etc. But we always have another choice. We always have another option. And that option is making a choice from the heart. When we make a choice from the heart, we are also being mindful. Because what is that presence, that piece of us that is minding, that divinity is made of love. So whenever we make a choice from the heart, we are allowing more of our mindfulness to be flexed. What it also does when we use the affirmation and we then drop into our heart and then make that choice from there, we're moving on from being stuck in our thoughts of the past and our thoughts of the future. When you make a choice from love, 99% of the time, it's a choice that's made in the now. It's made in this present moment. So use that affirmation. Repeat it internally when you're looking to become more mindful around any given situation. Because when we do, we open up a new reality. And we allow ourselves to break free of the limiting beliefs that tell us otherwise. I often, right, just to give an example, I'm always testing. I'm always testing any fear, any limiting belief that stops me from doing something. In my reality at the moment, in my journey, I'm daily exposed with moments that induce fearful states inside of me, meaning that pieces of me, whether it's my inner child, whether it's limiting beliefs from the past, whether it's programmed conditioning elements that are wanting to stay small, because of my journey at the moment, there's always pieces that are being tested to break free from that. So in that breaking free, I'm always using this affirmation, because when I make a choice from love, I'm assuring that when I break free from that freedom, break free from those chains that are limiting me, that I'm doing so with compassion and ease and patience. And I don't know about any of you, but when I am doing something scary, those are the things that help. Those are the things that allow me to go deeper. All right. Number 5 here, flexing your muscle of mindfulness, is same as before, using your heart and love, but this time using your heart and love and actively dropping into the field, or something I refer to as your heart temple. So a few things here to explain. First of all, a term called heart imagery. It is not just your brain and mind that helps you visualize. Your heart, which is the seat of your soul, the seat of the spirit that moves through you, it also has the power to create imagery. If any of you listening have done work with me, you know what this looks like. You know what this heart imagery looks like. And when we actively drop into our heart, drop into our love field, we are then able to create this imagery internally. So when we close our eyes and we are in the heart, that heart imagery guides us and creates a journey that we go on. So when we're looking to flex our muscle of mindfulness, we want to actively open ourselves up to this heart imagery. It can be as simple as closing your eyes, putting hands on your chest, and feeling that heart, feeling that heartbeat, feeling the hands on your chest, feeling your field. Inducing for a moment a memory in which you felt love, and then taking that feeling of love from that memory and just being in that experience. That's all heart imagery. But then once you're there, I would actually encourage you to go a little bit deeper. And again, another gift given to me that I use and share with others, sharing with you now in this moment, is the divine place that's inside of you, called, inside of your heart specifically, called your divine heart temple. And this is the sacred space in the deepest of layers of your heart consciousness that holds your source seed, holds your divine presence aspect. This doesn't have any words, so I'm trying to add words to what this is, which makes it hard. So it is the deepest form of you that is the closest to God. Closest, it is the piece of you that is God, that is divinity, and it lives in your heart, specifically in this heart temple. And again, if you've done work with me, you know what this looks like. But if you haven't, for now, just consider what comes to mind, specifically what comes to your heart when I share these words, because our heart temple is going to look unique to us. It's going to be some similar trends and themes, but your heart temple will look unique to you, and it will change and shift. And when we drop into this heart temple, we allow a deeper connection to love to flow. And when we're looking to flex our muscle of mindfulness, it can enhance this by being in this heart temple more often. So take a moment today to explore this for you. And again, you might need support and help with this. Please reach out if you do, but if not, explore this heart temple. And I'm closing my eyes and feeling into my space right now. When many of you listen to my words and my episodes like this, when you feel my frequency, a big part of that is you connecting into your presence, into that deepest form of you that lives in that heart space, specifically in that heart temple. So most of you have already connected to this without even knowing what it is, knowing what the name is, or knowing, what this deeper layer is. So embrace that. Number 6 here is, to flex your muscle of mindfulness, is pain is your gateway to bliss. And what I mean by this, on Instagram this week, I posted a quote. The quote was, "No enlightenment occurs without illusion." We can't have enlightenment without illusion. And this really emphasizes this point here. When we're looking to flex our mindfulness abilities and increase them, we not only not want to turn away from pain and pretend pain is not there, but we actually want to see the pain as the treasure that it is. Pain as the purposeful component in our lives that it is. Because without pain, we wouldn't appreciate the experience and the playroom and the playground that us as the eternal spiritual being is here to experience. It is the pain that teaches us. It is the pain that gives us guidance. It is the pain that allows us to awaken and come back to our mindfulness, come back to our presence, come back to our deepest frequency of love. I will put a episode in the show note where I talked about deep spiritual forgiveness. In that episode, and I'll mention it here now in reference to pain, I talked about how in the beautiful book Radical Forgiveness, Colin Tipping has a quote where he describes this human experience is an emotional one. We are here to experience the emotional nature of this reality. We're not here to become the emotions. We're not here to suppress them, but we're here to feel all the feels so we can learn through the lessons and see the purpose in the pain. And this is really now our gateway to bliss, our gateway to mindfulness, our gateway to becoming detached from the identification of the negativity, the thoughts, the emotions, and holding them so they can teach us so we can expand. So use pain as an opportunity, much like I talked about at the very start with your emotions being opportunities throughout the day. Specifically now I'm talking about painful experiences, not just emotional painful, but it could be, mental negative thoughts. It could be, a physical challenge in your body, painful to the physical being. All of these are components that we can be mindful around and observe and become aware. Flowing on here to number 7, and just a quick pause. I encourage you within these episodes to, and this is something I've started to do more and more, and I'm noticing in myself. I mentioned before to use my voice as a place to be mindful, coming back to my voice when you get distracted. You could also use the silence and the pauses and the breaks between the words. Because when we notice and become silent, I'll give an example here. I'm a big fan of Mr. Eckhart Tolle, as I'm sure many of you are, and he highly emphasizes the pause and the break. And for a long time, I wasn't sure why, but now it's clicked. Now I was like, I get it. It's because our presence, and specifically in the way that I would describe it, our love frequency, our unique love frequency exists in the words and also in the space between words. So in silence, in pauses, and in moments of openness, those two can be places in which our mindfulness muscle expands. Little extra tip there. That's a bonus one. So tip number 7 is do not push, surrender. So I laugh because this has been a big teacher for me this week, that surrender word. But for all of you listening, I'm sure you're familiar with the idea of surrender. But in regards to mindfulness here, what you can do is, let's use pain as we just spoke about, or the emotions at the start of this chat. When we become mindful of them, we don't just want to use that to observe it and then move to the next thing. We also want to surrender and sit in it. Sit in that anger that we're observing. Sit in that sadness that we're feeling. Sit in that negative thought form that took us away for a moment that we're now just observing with love. Don't just observe it, but sit in it for some time. I know all of you busy souls have to keep going, have to keep doing. I'm not saying you have to sit in it for an hour, but it may just be a couple minutes. When we sit in it, we allow for the deeper lessons and, at the very least, that mindfulness muscle to be flexed, but we also allow the deeper reflections to bubble up. Hold yourself like the child. One of my favorite sayings and terms, and again, if you've done work with me, you know what I mean, but I'll share it here now. When you sit in it and surrender through something difficult and challenging and painful, you're doing something I call holding the child. How, if you have children, physical children in this reality, let me ask you, when those physical children are in pain and moving through something difficult, you as the parent, how do you help them through it? You come up to them, you hold them, but what is the frequency? What is the state in which you hold that child? You hold it through compassion. You hold it through patience. You hold it through almost an act of surrender yourself for them to be all that they need to be. And this is what you do within your own internal pieces, the pieces that you're using to become mindful of. So hold the child. Be the container of love. Be the cosmic love antenna that you are, and hold this piece of you with love to build your mindfulness, to learn the thing, go deeper, and heal. Which flows on beautifully to tip number 8 here is be all that you are. So when you're holding your child and yourself in this example, and you're allowing yourself to surrender and sit in it, part of that is accepting all of you, not just the beautiful moments, but the challenging parts of you that are hard to sit in, that piece of you that holds guilt, that piece of you that holds shame, that piece of you that holds anger, that piece of you that feels not worthy and unlovable and ugly and disgusting and fat and ugly, and I can keep going. All the things. Be all that you are. Accept all that you are. Become mindful and loving of all that you are. If God is love, which I very much believe God is that, then what kind of love is God? Is God conditional love, or is God unconditional love? I take the latter. So if we understand that, then we can apply this to this component. Being all that you are means that when you love yourself, you're loving yourself unconditionally. And when in that act of loving yourself, being mindful unconditionally, you are connecting to your deepest presence. Are you noticing a theme today? In the act of unconditional love, you're connecting to what your deepest form and state is. Accept yourself in all of the darkness. And again, this affirmation, being all that you are, I am all that I am. I accept myself in all that I am. I love myself in all that I am. I embrace myself in all that I am. I feel myself in all that I am. Pick any of these. These are all affirmations, same frequency and idea. Repeat them. Repeat them in the morning. Repeat them in the evening. Wherever you feel it will fit into your day. But the more that you spend time in this frequency, the more it becomes your reality. Tip Number 9 here is seek spiritual support. So when we're flexing our muscle of mindfulness, we have to remember that we don't have to do it alone, and we don't live in a universe where we are alone. I will put another episode in the show notes on connecting to masters, angels, guides, and more. But I'll mention it here briefly. We are always surrounded by loving support, whether it be angels, ascended masters, ancestors, spirit guides, totem animals. They're all there waiting. They respect free will. So if you're looking to build your muscle of mindfulness and you're having challenges, you're getting stuck in your thoughts and getting identified by those emotions, then seek the support. Ask for the support that you deserve. Ask that angel for that blessing. Ask that ancestor that had the same challenge as you, that learned the lesson. I also recommend you to reach out to physical people, a physical coach, mentor, guide, practitioner, whoever it is, whoever you resonate with. I would be a beautiful example of that, but obviously I'm not the only soul out there doing this kind of work. So follow your heart. But when someone holds space for you, such as me, I'll use me as an example, I can see things that you are unconscious to. And that doesn't mean you're broken, doesn't mean you're flawed. It just means you're stuck in a belief system. You're stuck, you're the frog in the well that knows nothing of the ocean. Or the same frog analogy, you're the frog that is slowly boiling in the water as it gets hotter and hotter and you don't know the difference. So when we allow someone else to support us, we're not giving our power away, but we're allowing them to be the smudge-free mirror of love so we can see more of our deeper layers of healing that we are, for a moment, stuck in illusion around. So when we seek spiritual support, specifically, it could be many kinds, but I'm just speaking about the spiritual. That's what a mentor, a coach, a guide, practitioner, that's the role that they hold. They're never giving you anything. They're just helping you see more of you. And then finally, just on that same piece of being around, it doesn't even need to be someone that you pay or someone that coaches you. It could be just being around other people that have already flexed this muscle to a deeper degree. So for example, you just listening to my voice today, I would ask you, how has it made you feel? Has it shifted you in any way? Has it changed you in any way? Has it made you feel something? Has it opened up a deeper space of awareness? Why is that? It's because just being in the frequency of someone else that may have taken this a little bit deeper than you, just that alone shifts things without even, doing deeper work, which may be needed, which is why I encourage you to do it. But just, for me, for example, how I do this is by listening to, channels and motivational speakers and other souls that I look up to that specifically talk about these topics, and I am in their frequency, and that helps me shift, that helps me build this muscle. So just that alone can help, can be supportive, because what they're connecting to is the same thing that's inside of you. They're the deepest of states. Tip and tool here, piece of wisdom on building a muscle of mindfulness. If you've got this far, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for sticking with me. And I hope that these other tips have given you guidance. The last one here today is remembering that this muscle of mindfulness is a muscle. So like any muscle, let me pose you a question. When you head to the gym to build one of your physical muscles, do you expect to go to the heaviest weight and lifting that straight away and leaving on that first day totally flexed and ready to go? No, you don't. And this is the same with this muscle of mindfulness, this muscle of awareness and attention. You need trust, patience, and compassion for yourself, that this will build over time, that this will get deeper, that this will become habitual, that this will be attuned to a degree that it changes your life. And it will. It's only a matter of time. I say that not just from my experience with working with other people. I say that just from my own experience. It's changed my life. It's changed my reality. And while I am a unique expression, I'm not special. And by that, I mean the potential that I've unlocked is also the same potential that lies in you. So when you devote, trust, have patience and compassion for yourself and show up to do this work, it's only a matter of time until it changes your world. Because you are your world, right? There is no outside reality. There's just your inner state of consciousness that you project into your outside world. So you can adapt and change that inner state of consciousness if we add intention and devotion. That's another piece to this. We must be intentional and devotional to this work. Why are you flexing this muscle of mindfulness? So you can love more, so you can heal deeper, so you can show up for your family, for your friends, so you can build that business, so you can unlock your abundance, so you can, insert your dream and love here. Add intention. You're not just listening to this episode and wanting to do this thing just because it's fun. Maybe that's some of you. But most of you are doing this because you want to change, you want to evolve, you want to heal, you want to expand. So remember that each time you show up to do this work. And finally, within this muscle, remind yourself every day to celebrate and be excited and grateful for the shifts and changes that have already happened. It is so easy for us, and I'm right here with you, to get stuck in the doing, even when the doing is something loving like we're talking about today. But it's not all doing. It is being. When we can be for a moment and be grateful and celebrate and excited for just how much our muscle of mindfulness has already changed and shifted just by listening to this episode with Harrison. That frequency of gratitude not only attracts more of the spaces and places and people to help you expand this muscle, but being grateful in that moment actually helps you drop into the only moment that matters, the present one. And what is in that present moment, as we've talked about today, that is your presence, your divinity, the deepest form of you. That is the thing that is minding. That is the mindfulness muscle. So that's another probably bonus tip here. The act of gratitude itself flexes your muscle of mindfulness. So I'll land it there today. Quick little episode for you on building your muscle of mindfulness. I hope it brought you value and guidance. Remember, as always, 1, how do you feel after this conversation? What's moving through you? 2, take action on these tips, even if it's just taking a second of non-action. Right? Don't just listen to my words, embody. If you have any thoughts, questions, or extra comments, please reach out on social or leave them in your reviews and feedback over Apple and Spotify. I always love reading them and going deeper. Please share this out far and wide with someone that you think needs to build their muscle of mindfulness, or you can do it with them, right? There's more people in your world that are aware of this, the easier it might be for you. If you need deeper support with any of these tips today that we've talked about, building it into your life, this is what my coaching and my mentoring is for. So reach out to me and I'll see if I have spaces to bring you into my world so we can step forward together to bring you back into a deeper space of that cosmic love and that spiritual presence that you are. But regardless, I send you love. I send you light. And until next time here on the show, I'll see you again very soon. Bye, everyone. Before I leave you today, beautiful beings, I'm so excited to share a special announcement just with you. On the 20th to the 23rd of April, 2023, I and a fellow guest of the show, the beautiful Ali Paws, will be hosting live in Tulum, Mexico, the Cosmic Heart Tour. If you listen to this podcast week to week and you resonate with my frequency, with my voice, with my love in any of the topics I share with you, then most likely it is time for us to connect and heal in person. So I invite you to join us in Mexico. Join us for some meditations, activations, yoga, craniosacral therapy, a book release, a live Q&A, poetry, and so much more. These spots are going to fill up super quick because our intention is to make this exclusive and intimate. So please DM me Cosmic Heart Tour on any of my social channels. That's Cosmic Heart Tour on any of my social channels, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and we'll book in a meeting so you can join the love. I'm so excited to connect with you in the flesh. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Love Antenna with me, your host, Harrison. If you gained value or this episode hit your heart, please remember to share this out with a friend, a family member, or a lover. You can also leave your love over on Apple reviews and Spotify star feedback, and this helps me spread my frequency to more souls in need. Finally, if you want to connect with me deeper, want to reach out, interested in coaching, please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn at Harrison Meagher, spelled Meagher. Sending you so much love.